Welcome to Jacket Jockeys with Justin.
And me.
Hey, we're back
Oh
with
my
the
goodness.
with the off-season from
It's official.
Cast.
This is official.
Um, in, in what sense? I don't
I
know.
mean, I'm the officer
Oh,
officiating
okay. The
this.
efficient?
I'm the officiant. Yes. It's me, the officiant.
All right, well, henceforth referred to you as the efficient.
I like that.
Um, we're here to talk about MGM Plus's praised, critically acclaimed, audience favorite from mystery horror drama series starring um,
So many people.
national treasure Harold Perrineau and also a bunch of Canadians who say big.
Oh, and story.
Because Kenny came out with big this time, and
Yeah.
I was like,
Is
is
that
he actually
Canadian?
Canadian? And the answer is yes, he's
Oh,
Canadian.
okay, all right. I think there are some people in this country who say big,
Maybe there are, but he is
but
not one of
yeah,
them.
yeah. I
Uh,
love a regional accent.
yeah,
Um,
it stood out because of the Sarah thing. Like she said it
right. And because
the
they're
exact same
supposed to
way.
all be from different places in the
Yeah,
country,
they're
but
supposed to all be Americans. None of them are
yeah,
supposed to be from Canada, and
yeah,
yet you can hear like
yeah,
the Canadian because I think majority of the cast is Canadian.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Uh,
just a few exceptions.
what's this episode called?
This episode is called Mousetrap.
And what do you think that references? You're wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we had our predictions about what would happen, and it definitely seemed like they were gonna do this like Game of Thrones, let's trap a White Walker plan that seems kind of stupid, but it was nice that a lot of other characters were like, yeah, that's a bad plan. You really didn't think that through very well, did you?
Yeah, that was nice. But
And so he doesn't do it. It didn't happen. In fact,
indeed.
he sort of takes a step back and is like, okay, I'll just observe for now. I'm not even gonna try to do it yet,
Yeah.
you know?
I am glad that they said that, because they really should. Not only because the last time that he tried something that was intended to get them information about the monsters, he ended up inadvertently unleashing a plague of murderous locusts who came back this episode. I was not expecting, but I
Yeah.
guess only as a
Did they
figment.
come back? Yeah, I
Right,
know. It's
right.
the what
Well,
does it mean for a thing to exist? This is a question we're gonna have to ponder
yeah, there were a couple things in
going
this
forward.
episode that were, is this just in this person's head, or even still, if it's in their head, what damage could it do?
But I guess
But I will, real quick, I will just say the fact that he doesn't go through with the plan to try to catch one of them in this episode does mean that the final note of the last episode was a little bit of it was a little bit reminiscent of what would it take
to
to
train an
train an
army.
army.
Yeah,
It's
but
like, we didn't do
at
it.
least there's open discussion of doing the thing that
Yeah,
he said he was gonna do.
that's true.
They don't even talk. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's true.
it's like not. It's like it never happened. I don't
That's
know.
true. And
Anyway,
if you want to hear more about Lost, I recommend you turn to a different podcast.
because like
May
I
I
agree with
recommend the
you.
Lost Lowdown?
But like on the other hand, I think it's valid to be like, that is a bad plan that you did not think through.
Yeah,
What are you really gonna do? Like
yeah,
multiple people,
yeah,
including ghost ass Khatri, tell him that.
yeah,
And it seems like eventually he's like, yeah, okay, maybe I should like think about this and come up with something a
yeah.
little better before jumping in.
But
And
I'll
that's
tell you, he ended up by bit in this episode, he found himself in the presence of the only other person crazy enough to get involved in a scheme to try to catch one of these people, or these monsters.
yeah,
Like
that's
if he
true.
is gonna find a co-conspirator in
Yeah.
catching a monster, it's gonna be the unhinged guy in the bus.
Cannon ass Randall. Yeah, sure.
Randall.
No, I agree. It totally makes sense. Even though he didn't really ask him to help, he was just like, "Let me use
No.
your bus." But I think you might be right that he'll get enlisted going forward. What I was gonna say is, I feel like now the more obvious meaning of the
Yeah.
thing is what happens with Christy and.
That's Oh, with Christy. Oh, the bear trap. I
Oh, what did you think
actually,
it was?
well, I was gonna say the fact that the episode ends with
Oh
that
yeah, yeah,
ambulance finding the tree.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I think it works for that too, for
Yeah.
sure. But the other thing is a literal trap,
Yes.
like a mousetrap but bigger.
Yeah, that's a bear trap. It would
Yeah,
be a
yeah,
little bit overkill to try to catch a mouse with a bear trap.
it would.
She's lucky she didn't, she's lucky her leg wasn't broken by that thing.
I got some comments about that,
Okay.
but I will reserve them for when we
Yeah.
get there. But yeah,
Yeah.
needless to say, I agree. But let me say it anyway. So yeah, we definitely had some very momentous developments here. I mean, I think the Tabitha thing definitely made the biggest leap because basically it ended. We
Yeah.
basically came out of the quote unquote real world, and it's confusing too. Like I don't know. I mean, we can save it till when we get there or something, but it just like all I was getting such lost vibes with the way they were framing things and the way it was like it was like there's like a way to read it, but they never quite let you be clear on what the truth is supposed to be, you know?
Yeah, I think we got to talk about that.
You want to save it or do you want to
Yeah,
like
I
get
think we
into the
should.
depths? Okay.
I think we should
Because
save
that's
it.
the end of the episode
Yeah, and that's
basically.
really like it. Yeah, we should save that.
Okay. All right. So we'll save that until we get there, but I mean, obviously that was a big
Just
deal.
for the record, though, I don't have anything insightful to say. So this isn't like, ooh, I'm gonna say something really interesting later. It's just, I think it just makes sense to kind of progress our way up there
Yeah, yeah,
because it
yeah.
also just questions the whole reality of what we're watching.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Um,
I agree. I have some like I'm gonna present various points of view. I don't have a firm opinion because like I said, I feel like it's played like right down the middle where it's like really hard to know, because like there's a different ways they could have done that stuff where I would have had a clearer opinion of what happened. But because at each stage there's a plausible alternate reading, it's like really hard to it's really hard to be
yeah,
sure. Anyway, I'll go into detail on that later. You can look forward to that, kids. Okay. So shall we
let's
dive
do it.
in
Let's
here?
dive in.
All right, so we open up right where we left off with Jim on the phone with so-called Thomas, and I think you and Claude both called it last week that it wasn't really Thomas,
Yeah, he
which
never even thinks it's
which
Thomas.
I well, it didn't help what Thomas actually said, but anyway,
Right.
like I only took the contrary opinion because I wanted someone to,
Oh,
but
right.
I did think it was valid and I wasn't totally surprised. But it is weird. It's like um
He's way too old. As I know we harped on that last
he is way
podcast,
too old.
but this
There's no
episode
comment about
really
that,
drives
strangely.
it home. Yeah, I don't know why they didn't just cast a voice actor who had
Sounded like a
sounded
baby.
younger. I don't know. Well, like a toddler.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, it was definitely like it was more like Ethan's age, which is
Yeah.
like kind of I mean,
People have
if Thomas
fun.
was still alive, he wouldn't even be as old as Ethan.
That's right.
Someone on another podcast, I'm sorry to not give credit, but honestly, all From podcasts have like really unmemorable names. It'll be like the From podcast or something, and it's like I can't ever remember what anyway, my
From
point
our
is
lips to your
I
ears,
just
the
I just
From podcast.
I just wanted to give them credit because one of them said that like if you look at Jade's hair and beard, like it's just not. I mean, you got to go to something supernatural to because they've only been there for a
Yeah.
couple of weeks,
Yeah,
and
he's
and
a good mountain
he's
man.
got like a big bush of hair and a big bush of beard, and it's like in a few weeks you cannot grow that much hair.
I wonder if that biological feature, physiological feature is part of what gave him an edge in entrepreneurship.
That's what drove him to greatness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, it's this hair growing so
It's like
fast. It takes so much work to keep up with it. It keeps me hungry. I don't know.
exactly. Keeps him hungry.
Um. Anyway, sorry, I've gotten a field here. Let me finish the scene. Right. So Jim's on the phone with so-called Thomas. Thomas says, "Why did you let mommy go? Why did you want her to die? Is it because you didn't love her anymore?" And it's like, okay, Thomas, if you're trying to, all right, let me not talk. Um, he says, he says Jim should be watching Julie and Ethan. It's getting dark outside. Um, and this gets Jim to, of course, hang up and go check on them, thinking, I guess, that it's some kind of veiled threat.
He just drops the phone, right? It does
Yeah, he just
sound
drops the phone.
like it does sound like a veiled threat.
It does.
Um
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's weird. It's weird. And of course, I mean, this isn't yet another. I have another example of this to bring up later, but this is yet example number 500 of like the place known stuff. You know,
yeah.
um not just that, mommy left, but also like uh Julie and Ethan's name, the fact that they're out there outside, like how does this voice on the phone know any of that? It's like, who is this? And is the source of this voice the same as the source of the voice on the radio, for example? Or is this something else? Why are they doing this? It's like, do they do this to anyone else? Not that we know of, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, we do see Randall have a vision, and obviously Jade has vision as well. But this is like personal in a really specific way. I mean, I guess Thomas, the fact that it's Thomas is also an example of their knowing stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Khatri is personal too. There was that whole conversation that we had in
Yes.
the previous episode about what is the manifestation of Khatri. I mean,
Yes.
there people
Kachi's
are,
personal, but less threatening, less like
yeah, yeah,
confrontational,
less
I mean,
ominous, yeah.
especially in this episode.
Certainly. I'm just saying in terms of these various ways in which people who really shouldn't be able to appear.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, you're totally right. You're
They
totally
I
right.
don't think it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the Thomas thing is. But I will say in the scene later on when the phone rings again, I really wanted him to call Julie back. I mean, I wanted Julie to come
Yeah.
running back. I mean,
I did
in
too.
in any realistic scenario, that scene is telling us that this is all in Jim's head because
Yeah.
Julie would have heard the phone ring. Phones ringing are loud. I don't know how many of you remember
That's an old school
phones.
phone
Yeah,
too, with like
like
a
you can,
pretty
it's not just
sharp
a
ring.
buzz on your phone in your pocket. This is a
Yeah.
real ass
Do any of
landline.
you know about that?
Probably not.
Are you aware of telephony?
Look it up in historystories.org slash phones. Um the the uh what was I gonna say? Yeah. So I mean the fact that she doesn't come back and be like, what the fuck? Why is the phone ringing?
Yeah, yeah.
Is either evidence that the phone is
Contrivance
not ringing out
or
loud or a
yeah.
really shitty, irritating contrivance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see because, like, for example, with Jade's visions and with the Locust, with Randall, there's a very explicit moment where another character
Yeah,
shows up and it becomes clear that it's
yeah.
just in their
It's
head.
just a
They're the
vision.
only ones that
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah, and this one he's like choking himself with his own scarf or something. Jade later on in this episode when Jade sees the guy who's like nailed to the tree,
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
and
Right,
whoever walks up, he's
right.
like kind of
Oh, is
throttling
that what he was
himself
doing?
with his.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay,
I mean,
okay. I
yeah.
didn't I didn't look that closely because I just assumed it was like some pantomime of what was happening with the guy in the tree, but
Well, it is. Yeah.
I didn't realize it was like a Fight Club thing where he's like doing it to himself.
Well, I don't know. Like maybe you can go back and watch. Maybe the idea is that he's trying to get the guy's
Stop the guy
hands on.
from,
Yeah.
yeah, it might be that. It might be that. That would make sense.
But anyway, that's a later scene.
Yeah, it is a later scene. So Boyd is ringing the evening bell. Haven't had that for a while. Jim goes out to look for Ethan and Julie. They're feeding the animals. They don't want to go. Jim yells. Boyd steps in. They come finally. Jim apologizes to Boyd, and he says, "Things are getting worse around here, aren't they?" Boyd doesn't really respond, and then we go to credits.
I mean, no shit, Sherlock. I like wow, what makes you say that? Are they? I hadn't noticed. But
Is it
also
just now that you're taking that in, Jim?
Yeah, I mean, this has been yeah. Anyway, um, yeah, that line's terrible. Also, another example of your favorite thing of people not sharing information with one
Yeah,
another.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, how long? I mean, to be fair, like every time he told someone about the voice on the radio, they didn't really care. And so it's almost like Randall's the only one who cared, but he had this like half-baked bullshit theory about it. And so like it kind of just fizzled and went nowhere.
I mean, I feel like Donna cared. She just didn't really know what to do with that information.
Well, so I mean that's what I mean. Like there was no
Yeah.
like
But
let's investigate this. Let's try to figure out who that was.
yeah, but
Let's
Boyd at this stage, and I get it if he doesn't know this, but Boyd is like actively trying to learn about the monsters. I feel like he should be trying to pool as much information as
I
possible.
totally agree. Does
Um,
Boyd know about the voice on the radio?
I don't
I'm
remember.
not sure that he does. He might, but he might
I don't
not
remember.
also.
What is his dad's name? I want to say Matthew. I know that's wrong, but
Who?
doesn't he look like a Matthew? The dad,
Talking about Jim?
Jim.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Matthew. Sure, why not? Isn't
Oh
there
wait,
another character
Matthews. Oh
named
no, his
Matthew?
last name is
Matthews,
Matthews. Yeah,
Jim
yeah. Okay, you're
Matthews.
right.
There
Jim
you go.
Matthews.
That's
Okay.
why. They're
Anyway,
all a bunch of Matthews.
Matthews. Everywhere you look, can't
Matthews.
swing a stick without hitting
Um,
Matthews.
yeah,
All
no,
right.
good point.
So
It
now the
sounded right.
credits, where we see again these paintings that we've been seeing since the beginning, and that
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I didn't really mention this at the end of last episode, but it is striking how similar in style the paintings in the credits are to the paintings in the basement. Uh almost as if they were painted by the same prop designer. This will be my prediction.
Well, and there's one in particular of the boy in
The boy
white
in
that
white.
actually looks like identical almost.
Yeah.
Like it's if you watch the previously on where they show it and then you watch the credits, like you'll see like they're real close. They're
Yeah.
not exactly the same, but of course the easy explanation is that Victor or his sister saw those paintings
Wait,
and
Victor has a sister?
Victor has a sister.
Why has that not been brought
They
up in any of the
Excuse me, the
conversations?
sister was obliquely referenced as part of a they
Uh,
pronoun.
the most oblique of bleaky references.
I agree. I agree. It feels like they're dodging it, but I think with the way this ends, I think we are gonna get some comments about the sister, and they've just been saving it for some reason. And there's a Victor thing in this episode too, so
Yeah.
which also is totally unresolved. So I don't know. I feel like it'll have to come up, and they're saving it for
Yeah.
some reason. But
Yeah, I had this crazy crackpot thought that immediately I was like, there's
I thought,
crack thought was like there's just there's no way that like okay, so Tabitha is like assuming the mother role, and now in this episode, um it's like Sarah's assuming the sister role. Sarah was already a sister, but a sister to somebody
oh
else.
yeah, 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 right.
um but it's, I
Right.
mean, she can't be the actual sister. um but
Ooh, but what if like is some kind of crazy seance or something and she gets because remember she had it seemed like it was Boyd's wife like speaking through to her, as a voice like when they were on that trek, the original trek from
yeah,
season one.
yeah, I
So
remember.
like I wonder if that of course that might not actually be Boyd's wife. It might be something more like what's going on with Thomas, but
Right.
nonetheless, it makes me wonder if they'll do something with the sister in that context because it definitely feels like the ingredients are there if they want
Yeah.
to do that. It's gonna be weird because like Tabitha gets there and then like Victor's dad is there now too, and of course he's like injured, so it's probably maybe they're gonna
Oh
don't.
my God, I just realized that uh what's her name? The EMT gets severely injured in a bear trap, and then an
Christy.
ambulance shows up.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that at the end,
Sorry.
definitely. No, 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 it's a
It just
valid
it
point.
just struck
I
me.
was gonna point out how not only are there like 3 new EMTs, but there's a whole ambulance full of stuff that they can use now. So
They should drive that ambulance right out to the place with the crazy effigies and take care of this leg.
yeah,
It's
well,
getting late, isn't it?
I
Or is it tomorrow?
I
I feel like this
no,
show
it was getting
plays.
dark, but they didn't actually show dark in this
All
episode.
right, well
Dark did
let's
not arrive.
well then they better fucking have a talisman in that fucking. What if she has a talisman? Anyway, all right, let's get back on track.
Who has to? Oh, you mean because
If
they just arrived at the
Tabitha,
town and it's like getting dark? I bet it's
yes.
gonna be a thing. I bet it's gonna be a thing in the next episode that they gotta like deal with the fact that it's almost dark and they gotta get all these people out and Victor's dad's like all injured and shit and I feel like it's gonna be a
Yeah,
thing.
but if she took a talisman with her, which I would have if I were her.
Yeah, I don't know if she did. I wouldn't be surprised if she didn't, honestly, but we'll
She packed
see.
a lunch and she still doesn't seem to have eaten it.
She did pack a
Although
lunch.
I guess the sandwich is probably turned by now.
Turned.
Turned. All right, let's keep going. So we're in the credits.
Okay, yeah, yeah, yeah. So credits. All right. After the credits, Henry is asleep in the chair again when we hear some glass breaking. In the kitchen, Tabitha's trying to pick it up but cuts herself. Henry says she needs to sleep. She's been in the basement all night. Henry asks about the boy in white luring her to the White House. To the White House. Oh my God! Remember when the boy in white lured you to the
Yeah.
White House, Tabitha, and then you became our president?
Election
All right. Anyway,
2024.
vote Tabitha. All right, shut up. Sorry, luring her to the lighthouse. But Tabitha says she went there because of the children, but the tower was a lighthouse and she had to go to a bottle tree, and Victor took her there. And this is all very like dancing around the point that I want to be said here, which is that weren't no kids in that fucking lighthouse. So like, don't you think he did lure you there? Like, what else do you think it was? Like, like it feels to me like what Henry says here is valid. Like, yeah, I think he lured her ass there, and I was happy that they said that because I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought this whole time, and it's nice finally someone agrees with me.
Yeah.
But Tabitha doesn't seem to take it that way. He's like, no, no, I was gonna rescue the kids. Why weren't no kids there though, Tabitha? Come on. All right. Anyway,
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, something happened. But this episode seriously calls into question what that something was. I mean, we were already questioning it, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, luring is kind of that's a pointed verb to use, but to your point, there were not children to be set free, and then he pushed her out of
yeah.
it.
And he showed
And
up one time at least in Camden, implying, at
I
least
mean,
to
or
me, that
yeah.
he was overseeing this journey.
Yeah, although as we discussed in the podcast about that episode, he might just be a figment of her imagination
It's possible.
because he just kind of lures her into a coffee shop where
Yeah,
nothing happens.
yeah. You're
So
right.
I don't know.
You're right. Sorry, I didn't quite finish here. Right. So she mentions the bottle tree. This is sort of the transition point. Like they want to get there, so they dance over some potentially
Right.
interesting points to get to this bottle tree thing, because that's actually the point. Not that it's not interesting, but I want them to talk about this other stuff. Anyway, whatever. Right. Um, right. She says, right, Victor took her to the bottle tree, and Tabitha almost says that Miranda died, right? Because Victor
Right.
said he found her body there. So, that's a thing that is easy to forget. And I've heard multiple podcasts actually, like someone's like, no, Miranda, she's out there somewhere. And it's like, no, he said he found her body.
Yeah.
And I don't think Victor's lying about that. I don't think he would lie about something like that. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I think it's true. Anyway, Henry acknowledges that they are dead. This is what I think is the oblique reference to the sister, because obviously he knows Victor's alive,
Right.
at
That's a
least
good
according to
point.
Tabitha. So I think when he says this, he's basically saying he thinks the sister's dead. I'm not convinced of that, and yet the way this ends, I'm not sure if she got out. So if she did get out, they certainly never found her, unless she's one of the EMTs, which seems pretty unlikely. because I don't think she was that much younger than Victor, and he's old. He's so old. Oh my god. He's the
Oh
oldest
yeah,
man
people.
I ever
Yeah,
saw on TV.
yeah. The internet. Yeah, that's a weird inside joke to be shared on the podcast. Yeah,
Well,
my mind wandered. I was trying to break this down a bit, but yeah, I think if one of those EMTs was the sister, she would have seen the tree and just started screaming. You
oh right,
know,
because
it
the
would be
sister was
too
there,
late
so she would know about
to.
it, and they clearly didn't know
Right,
shit about it because they didn't have any.
right,
Only Tabitha reacted to it.
right.
So yeah, no, I think you're
Um,
right. It was
yeah,
just the
but
best I
I
could
was
think
thinking
of.
like, okay, what about the sister? I mean, is the sister like, is there some plausible way that the sister might re-enter the story from the outside world, if there is an outside world?
Yeah, which is open for
Uh,
debate.
or is she like on the island? I will never stop saying on the island.
Hey,
Is
say it,
she
say it. There's
on the
no good way to
island?
describe it, so go
Um,
for it.
but living in some different encampment as just like a solo,
Hmm.
you know, like I don't know,
Like a Rousseau kind of
like a
thing.
Rousseau type thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Somehow she's either away from the monsters or she found a talisman somehow or whatever.
yeah,
Some shit like that. That would probably be at this point. It seems like that's the only way, unless they're going to be like, let's go back to the lighthouse and leave again. I don't know. Um, I don't
yeah.
know.
I was really hoping we would make it to the bottle tree, the so-called bottle
I
tree
know
in
they really
Camden.
tease us with that, and then we never get there. And I have further comments to make about that because
Okay,
it's
right,
like
right.
it's such a. All right. Anyway, Tabitha hears bottles clanking, and Henry reveals that there's a bottle tree in the backyard, and it's like, oh, okay. So this is where I got to mention some Facebook stuff. I've seen some Facebook pages about this show, and like people post images. A lot of times podcasts don't talk about the visuals as much, or at least like it's not a visual medium, right? Right, guys? So it remember we talked
Picture it
about
now. We're standing in a vast
Sicily,
landscape.
1947. All right, sorry. It's a Golden Girls joke.
Oh wow.
Makes me
Wow.
laugh every time.
Man.
Estelle,
Victor's almost old enough
picture
to.
it. Sicily, 1947.
Yeah. I don't know that show as well as you do. I'm sorry to say.
It's a good one. It was a running gag. Um, all right.
Wow. This he's gonna be at this for a little while now.
I'm
So I'll
sorry.
just describe
I'm
Sicily in
sorry. I think it's funny.
1947.
No, no, no. Sorry. What were you saying? I didn't mean
I
to.
wasn't no, I was just making a joke about it's not a visual medium. I was just gonna joke about us being in a very picturesque setting. Like
Oh,
Sicily 1947.
okay.
Okay, so but you were saying
Yeah, yeah.
Facebook
Right. So, like, they pointed out, I mean, we saw some
that
stuff.
those bottles are not like 50 years old. Sorry, go ahead.
No, not even that. We saw some stuff in the I forget what we saw. Some stuff in the house where I forget what did we
In Victor's
see?
house?
Yeah. Yeah, some stuff in there that seemed like it showed up. Now I don't remember what it was.
Oh.
There was something.
Well,
Now I
I
forgot.
don't know about that, but I feel like they got to do something about these objects in the diner. The previously on and then the main episode referenced the reappearance of that lost bracelet,
Yeah, yeah,
but this
which comes up
episode
again at the end.
also showed Sarah trying to glue back together that ornament that
Hmm.
had been a gift from her
Yep.
brother of significance. And like, why do that except to like make her even more pathetic, which she's already
She's
so pathetic.
the most
Um,
pathos on a show of pathos.
yeah,
Sarah is the pinnacle of pathos.
pinnacle of
She's
pathos.
got such a pathos face. I really
Yeah, she always looks terrified.
yeah, no, I mean that she's got that face. It's weird, like that early part, it was like, it's hard to like a character who's like killing people and letting the monsters in, but
Yeah,
yeah, then like she went into this mode and like it's just yeah, it's
very
she
sad.
sells that mode really well, I have to
Yeah.
say. Um Anyway, I was just gonna say some I know there was something else that I'm forgetting. I'll try to remember it later, do a corrections corner when I can remember. But anyway, there's a little picture behind, I think in the living room of Victor's house, of what looks like a bottle tree. And like when I initially saw that, I was like, oh shit, it's fake world. It's fake world. This is too weird. But then, of course,
Really?
this episode reveals that that was made by Miranda as an art installation. So it's actually like not totally implausible that there'd be a picture of it in the house. So
Interesting.
so it kind of works. Another thing that came up was there's some wallpaper trim. Is that what you call it? Like when it's a strip? Is there a name for that?
I don't know,
It doesn't
maybe.
matter. So there's some wallpaper that has peaches on it. Or was that the thing? Did we see the peach wallpaper?
I don't remember.
Okay. So anyway, because he had this thing about peaches,
Yeah, yeah, I remember the
Victor,
peaches thing.
it was like a big deal
Well,
early.
peaches are a big deal in Maine. Maine is known for its
Oh,
peaches.
really? Maine's got
Yeah.
peaches?
Maine is, yeah, no, 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 no. I can't tell if you thought I was serious.
I didn't think you were serious,
Okay,
but
good.
I started to doubt
Good, good.
myself.
Well, so bottle trees are a thing. They just don't usually look like the one on the island. There's this like southern tradition, um I don't know if superstition is the right word, or maybe that's not a pleasant word for this. But you have a bottle garden or bottle trees, and the bottles like ward off evil spirits and they capture good ones, so they protect your house. So a bottle tree or a bottle garden should be a protective feature. It but again, they don't usually in my oh in what I'm familiar with, they don't really look like the one on the island. They're more like they point down. They don't like and they don't have stoppers in them. So
Hmm.
I don't know how much it's supposed to be referencing that tradition. Um, but it seems worth pointing out.
Sure, sure, sure. I mean, everything comes from somewhere,
But
so.
this peach wallpaper thing, I would just take that as an Easter egg.
Well, so like that was my struggle, even with the bottle tree picture, because I was like, well, it could be a fake world, or it could be just cheeky set design,
Mhm.
or it could just be that it's like Victor loved peaches back then.
Always and forever.
And it's just that. Like
Yeah.
just like the later stuff, it's like it doesn't give you a definitive like
Yeah.
reading. It's like, no. So anyway, all right. Are you ready to
I'm ready.
move on? Okay, so speaking of the devil, Victor follows a map. I forgot about this scene. When I watched this again, I was like, I don't remember this at all. Do you remember this scene? So Victor follows a map outside Colony House with a shovel in hand. He finds the spot on the map and starts digging. And I think the implication from what happens later is that he dug up that suitcase that he brings to Sarah's house. Um,
Uh, yeah. Now that you say it, that seems right.
I didn't catch this the first time. For the
Yeah,
record, in
no.
fact, I forgot that this scene even happened. I don't know where I was looking when this scene was going on, but
I
I
remember
was like,
I was
"What?"
yeah, I was confused. I think I was also kind of distracted in that scene. I have no theories about what was
Oh,
going
was it?
on. Yeah. I think the dog was
I
distracting us.
see. I
Um,
see. Yeah,
but
it's a brief scene, so
yeah, but I thought that the digging had something to do with his measuring of the trees, but now that you say it, I guess it does not. So
it
he
doesn't seem like it because there's a little X.
and we don't know yet what is in that suitcase, right? We don't.
Indeed,
Okay.
it's not answered in this episode. I think we'll probably find out in the next one
Yeah.
because he sets up what they're gonna do, and
Yeah.
so, but it doesn't happen. So yeah, we'll come back to that later. All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
So Ellis questions Boyd about trapping the monsters. Boyd's plan is to put a talisman on the outside of a building that they trap him in. Ellis is skeptical, but Boyd wants to do something. Donna comes in. Boyd asks about everyone going down to the cabins to get food. Donna realizes something's up, and Boyd admits he wants to catch a monster. Boyd wants to make it talk. Donna is also skeptical and reminds Ellis that he has a baby on the way and leaves. Ellis tries to say something, but Boyd waves him away.
You know what they should do? They should make a giant guillotine in a doorway and lure them in and then chop them in half. Because
Guillotine?
like I hear yeah, a giant guillotine. Giant, not just the French Revolution style cut off the head. You need to cut these people in half. Um that's my big thing. Whenever it's and actually they did this on The Walking Dead at one point. They had or at one point, probably at many points, they had zombies that had just been like cut in half.
Yeah.
And so as long as you can avoid, the teeth, you're
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah. They gotta like
Um,
drag themselves underground. Yeah, it's a good question.
like,
Like
because they don't have machetes.
Donnie mentions in this scene that they've shot him with a shotgun and all they do is smile. But yeah, it did make me wonder,
Did you shoot them right in the
what
head?
if you ran over one with a car,
Yeah.
or what if like you said, what if you shot him point blank in the head with a shotgun?
Yeah, like I want to
You
see,
know?
is it gonna bounce off your skull?
Yeah, or will the gun just not go?
It's yeah,
Uh,
anyway, that's a yeah, this scene we already said some stuff about this scene and just how like ridiculous it is to just not have any plan and like do this extremely risky thing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, I thought in the last episode, like Donna was a bit wrong about like saying Boyd shouldn't have gone out to get the animals, but I think in this case, like she's right. Like it's just not a well thought out plan because
No.
it's like what are you gonna like how are you gonna make them talk? Like that's why would they talk to you? Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
you know and you got to find them first, right? And they're obviously like, so yeah, the thing I was gonna bring up, should I save it? I don't know, fuck it, I can talk about it here because they don't trap no monsters in this episode.
Right.
The thing I was gonna say is like when they did that whole thing with Frank in the box in season one, they put him in the box but he was sealed in there and they just busted through that wood, so they are strong enough if they want. Now, obviously, they could also break the windows if they wanted to, but they seemingly can't because of the talisman, right? That's the only explanation because they obviously are strong enough to even probably kick through the walls if they wanted to.
Yeah.
You know, like they're clearly super strong.
Yeah.
So my point is like, how do you even restrain them? I would think if you tie them up, like they might be able to
Right.
just snap out of their ropes or even chains or God knows what
The
else they're gonna hold them with.
yeah, the premise is maybe you could use a talisman to trap them inside the house and then wait until the morning comes when they should be question mark.
Yeah, what
And
something maybe
that's
happens.
yeah, and I love Donna's recounting of what she assumes the plan to be because it really drives home how not thought out it is at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Because we don't know what happens to them during the day. It's a big assumption that they might somehow not be dangerous during the day. There's no reason to think that.
They have
Just because
literally
we
no
don't
reason
see
to
them
think
during the
that.
day does not mean that yeah. And I love it when he's like, you we caught one once before. She's like, no, you killed it.
Yeah, it was definitely different.
But there was no fucking way, right? And like, how are you gonna torture it
And that
into it?
went
Like, are
really
you
long, by the way.
crazy? And like to your point, how could you keep it in captivity in a house, protected only by a talisman? What is your
And
strategy?
interrogate it.
And interrogate it. And we have no idea how long it can go without like
Yeah,
sustenance. Does it need
yeah.
sustenance?
That's
Does it
never
need
been
to go
answered.
back to a place to like recharge in
I
some
mean, they
way?
they had, at the initial stage of the show, like pilot, I think it was like, you know, not 90 days, 100 days, I forget. It was a pretty large number of
Yeah,
days since the
it's a long
last
time.
incident. So like if they need sustenance, they don't need it very
Well, they
much.
don't eat people though. I mean, they may have sustenance that they go get somewhere else, like in the caves. So
Sure,
like if they have to go back to some place and do something else that we just don't ever see.
sure.
Or like get recharged because they're robots.
Robots.
Yeah, I have no
Yeah,
idea.
I
No
also
theory.
wanted to see them, when Kenny had his half-baked plan to like go into the caves and burn them all. Like
Yeah,
I
another thing that they're just gonna say, and then we're never gonna see it.
they never tried that either,
Right.
Like why not throw a Molotov
Maybe that's
cocktail, you know?
the theme of this season is them saying like, "What if we did this? What if we did that?"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then we never do any of them.
Yeah,
We don't do
yeah.
this. We don't do that.
Another question I have is like, can they fly?
Can they fly?
Because I know it seems like a
That
weird
is a
question.
surprising
I
question.
know it seems like a weird question, and I know we don't see them fly, but like I'll tell you why I'm asking that. I'm asking that because we have seen them multiple times come to a second story window. For example, in the pilot.
Oh, I think they can like float.
Okay, so they can sort of fly. That's weird. Like I feel like they don't use that power enough.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't feel like they should be able to do that.
But they did do that, right? That's
No,
what
you're
that
right.
was,
Yeah, you're
right? They didn't
right.
use a ladder to climb up to the window, right? They were just like hovering there somehow.
Yeah, I
And the one with the flowers too, like
yeah.
was it in the second
I
story
think both
window?
of them are just
I
hovering.
actually forgot about that from season one because I don't know if they showed that in season two. Anyway,
Yeah.
whatever. Minor point. All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So go back to Colony House. Hey, you know what? Can I just praise Amazon right now? I know you
What's
know,
Amazon?
I know there's some well, you see, it's
Wait, is that the bookseller? The online bookseller?
a better yeah, of course it's a bookseller, but it
But
is
it's so much
so much
more.
more.
This podcast brought to you by Amazon.
I mean, I feel like the more valid question these days is what isn't Amazon? Yeah,
Ooh.
exactly.
Is this Amazon?
This is Amazon.
Is that
Brought to you by Amazon.
is that over there Amazon? Amazon by Amazon.
Amazon by Amazon
Amazon.
for all your Amazon
Are you
Amazons.
Amazon? Okay, what are you saying? What is this
I
about?
just wanted to praise Amazon because we subscribe to MGM Plus through Amazon, which I recommend to everyone. And I don't know, maybe MGM Plus's website does this too. You tell me, kids, um, but when you hover the mouse or like whatever on your whatever thing,
Oh my
I don't know what
god.
you kids use.
Cursor.
When you tap it or
TikTok.
something, like it shows you the actors' names and the characters' names of everyone who's on screen at the time. So yeah,
Weird.
it's super handy. It really helped me because I was a couple times I was like, I don't remember what this character's name is, and I could spend like a few minutes looking it up, but all I had to do was beep, oh, that's who it is. Okay,
They use their facial recognition software
I guess
that they
so.
probably use to drone people.
I guess so. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how they do it, but that would make sense
Yeah.
that it's something like that.
Yeah, that is cool. I can see why you would hone in on that feature.
It's just helpful for me,
Yeah.
especially when I don't know characters' names.
Yeah.
Because so this is where I learned that this woman that we've seen a couple of times, her name is Clara. That's what I found out from
Wait,
Amazon.
who? I don't even remember what
So,
we're talking about.
so from Colony House,
Oh,
so
the woman cooking the meat?
exactly.
Okay,
Yep,
Clara.
yep, yep. And she was in the diner
Yeah,
leaving the
yeah.
flowers, and she was
She's
like
the one who everybody gets mean to.
by the bathroom. Yeah, exactly, exactly. She gets yelled at for no good reason. Yeah, yeah. So her name's Clara, and that's what I found out. So yeah, Clara's cooking some meat. Parentheses. Thanks Amazon. I literally put that here. Um,
You think the meat was ordered on Amazon?
of course. Where else does you get meat?
I wonder if they've tried that.
They really should. Um,
All right, so cooking
so
the meat.
yeah, cooks some meat. Fatima comes in, turns it down, and then goes out to the compost heap for some of that good shit.
Some of that
Cause
good.
you know she loves us in that compost heap. It's so good. Oh my god. So
The cool temps are going to be helpful for preserving her rotten food.
yeah, that's a good point. If you want to call it preserving. Um, maybe she would like it better if it was even more rotten still. I don't know.
There's got to be a perfect point.
Maybe.
Optimal rot.
So
That's actually the name of my punk band.
optimal rot.
Optimal
Optimal
rot.
rot.
We're not very good.
Uh, you don't have to be when you play punk. It's fine.
So
She chomps and chomps, and is finally observed by the possibly normal or possibly mysterious Tilly, and
Fucking
she
Tilly.
runs away. Yeah, I don't know.
Fucking Tilly, we were suspicious of her from day one. Then we eased off our suspicion. Now the suspicion meter is back at
It's
11.
clear that the show, like, it's clear from the
Yeah.
interactions in this episode, the show knows that she's coming off that way.
Yeah.
So it's not just us.
Yeah, so either there's something legitimately weird about her or they're just fucking with
Or there, yeah,
us.
exactly. It definitely
Sort of
could be
like
that.
misdirection or whatever.
Yeah. So we'll come back to that later.
Uh-huh.
There's not too much to say. It's kind of just establishing a plot
Yeah.
line. Um, okay. Kenny, Jay, Christy, Dale, and the red shirts. Dale is almost a red shirt, but when I did my Amazon thing, he was named, but the other ones were. It was like town resident number one or something. So I'm considering them red
Yeah.
shirts.
Dale and the Red Shirts is the name of my British pop homage band.
It's a good one. Arrive at the cabins. Jade speculates that the sculptures are like the talismans. I can only assume that he's been listening to podcasts because
Yep.
every podcast that I've heard
I,
speculated that.
I'm just gonna say I also said it without
Yeah,
listening to all of those
that includes
podcasts.
this one. Um, but I'm just saying, like
Yeah,
everyone thought that.
yeah, it's like not that hard.
No, it's really not. But since they say it in the show, it's
Yeah.
like they're acknowledging that like this is a possible way to read this, but of
Yeah.
course it is
Ugh.
again back to Lost, merely Jade's possible interpretation, and it isn't necessarily true. So anyway, Kenny's focused on getting the food and assigns him awesome tasks, and we'll come back to that later, of course.
Yeah.
Um, so you ready? Or do you want to say something about this?
No, no, let's just
Okay.
keep going.
All right. Jim is serving lunch to Ethan and tries to cheer him up about the rations. Ethan wonders who will bury mom, meaning Tabitha, and if her body is rotting out there somewhere. Jim tries to stop him. He keeps going. Jim gets mad. Ethan storms out. Julie's not pleased and leaves as well. Then the phone rings and Jim hangs it up.
Yeah, he's probably doing all the wrong things. There's no child psychologist on the island as far as I can tell. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I get it. It's hard, but I mean they played it in the previously on. Like Julie specifically said, Dad, don't lose your shit, please. And then he proceeds to lose his shit.
Yeah.
Of course, he is getting taunted by fake Ghost Thomas on the phone and stuff.
It's not gonna
I
be
understand. And, his wife's like missing and possibly dead. And there's all sorts of stuff where, like, I get it. But
yeah.
also, you could do better. I don't know. Anyway, it's clearly not good for any of them. What's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see how that develops. Any further comments?
No, I mean just what I said earlier about the
The
phone.
phone
That
thing,
loud
yeah.
ass phone.
I agree, it's frustrating.
But
I'm hoping it comes up again and we get some acknowledgement, but we'll see. Uh, okay. Henry, so back in Camden, Henry shows Tabitha the bottle tree, the backyard that Miranda made as an art thing. Tabitha is disappointed that it's not a faraway tree. There's no hole in it. Henry mentions that it's not the original. They dropped acid at the original bottle tree, apparently, and it is, quote, where this all started. That's what he
I
said.
really
Where
wanted to
this
get
all
there.
started. I want to come back to that quote at the
Uh-huh.
end,
Yeah.
because it seems relevant, potentially, or not at all. Anyway, Tabitha wants to see the original. Henry tries to talk her out of it, but nevertheless, she persists.
Yeah. Well, and I want to see it too,
We all do.
unfortunately.
So it's like, all right, but of course, it seems we're never going to get to, or will we? All right. Anyway,
Right.
um,
Right. And like
questions. I'm telling you. I'm
so many
telling you.
questions. Yeah. And like tree things. I know I think I floated this theory in a previous episode. About the tree that the fallen tree that you see and that's the sign that
Hmm.
you're on the island.
You've been trapped. The
Yeah,
Matrix has you.
right, of like whether that tree had special properties and it's falling.
Hmm.
Um is significant in some way. I was in this scene before he said that the original, that it's not the original. I was like, is it going to be revealed that the original one got chopped down? Or, but no, nothing like that. And we never make it. And then anyway, yeah.
Indeed, yeah, it's left ambiguous what they would have found if
Right.
that whole sequence of events hadn't unfolded the way it did. So that is very frustrating. But yeah, I should mention also that Henry tries to talk her out of it only in the sense that he's like, you need to sleep
Yeah.
because she's been up all night in the basement and she's like half delirious seemingly. So when they go, he's actually like very very into going to such an extent
Right.
that he basically like forces her to not get out of the car and leading to the car crash and stuff. So anyway, it's like the way I said it comes off like he doesn't want her to go, but I don't think that's
Right. But
true.
it's more just like a you need to rest
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Yeah. Which seems reasonable, doesn't it? I don't know. Seems reasonable to me. And yet, is there something up? I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, it's weird. Okay. Do you want to
Yeah, let's
further?
keep
Okay.
no,
All right.
there's more to come on that.
There is. Boyd is in the church making a memory board. We learn this later. I'm just
He's not making a mousetrap.
spoiler alert. It's not a mousetrap. Khatri appears, taller ghost Khatri, questions or new haircut ghost
New
Khatri.
haircut, Kotri. Yeah.
um, questions him about catching a monster and wonders why take the risk. Khatri says, those things said they wanted to break you, so he shouldn't play into their hands. Boyd's not hearing it, as usual. Boyd tells him about the memory board, and he tells Khatri to leave him alone, and Khatri disappears.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, he gets him to like go away. That definitely makes it seem like he's in his head, but also maybe not. I don't know, it's weird. This was the example I was going to bring up earlier, that Khatri knows that those things said they wanted to break you. So there's two ways you can go with that. It's either because it's from Boyd's head, because obviously he knows that that happened, he was there, or if this thing is something else, not in Boyd's head, then it's another example of the place knowing stuff, of the place like having somehow transmitting knowledge of events to various entities within within the
Yeah.
island, if you will.
Yeah. I feel like Kotri's in his head.
I think that's pretty reasonable. But I'm leaving room for the alternate explanation because
Yes.
I think on this show it's very possible that
I
it's not
admit the
that.
possibility.
We admit the possibility. Oh my god. Um, CP strike, y'all. All right. Anyway, so are you ready to continue?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. So Sarah, in her, I guess, back in her house now that both those people living there are dead. She's
Yeah.
got her old house back. Isn't that
There's a
nice?
lot of houses in this community that like there's a room you just don't go in.
Yeah. Oh yeah, good point. There's kind of a nasty room in there. Anyway, Sarah tries to. We'll see if they acknowledge that in the next episode. Anyway, Sarah tries to put the snowman that Nathan, her brother, made back together. When there's a knock at the door, it's Victor carrying a suitcase. After some awkward moments, he goes inside and he asks her about the snowman, and she tells him about it. Victor then asks for a bedspread to build a fort, and then he will tell a story.
I love that. I love that. There are some stories that you must tell in a fort. They can only be told in a blanket fort.
Claude said on the last podcast that like Victor is sort of a child like in his head,
Yeah.
like
Well,
what do they
Tabitha
call
has said
that?
that.
Like, oh yeah, Tabitha said, yeah. So it's clearly true. Like he's clearly had this kind of
Arrested
arrested development, if you
Development.
will, no pun intended. Uh but like this is like
Yeah.
maximum childish thing to do,
I love
get a
it.
before with a bedspread and tell a story. And it's like, this is weird. Like, what are you doing? Why are you telling this story to Sarah? What's your story? Like, what did you bury? Like, what the
Are we
fuck's
gonna
going
get the
on?
story? Are we gonna get the story, or is the arrival of his father gonna throw this
I know,
whole thing?
right? It actually could ruin
I want
things.
the story.
I want the story
We're
too.
building a fort.
I want the story too. We'll see if we get it next week because this is our final scene with Sarah and Victor. So
Yeah.
we'll just have to see where that goes. But it's an interesting development, and I am definitely looking forward to whatever the fuck he has to say. Like, is he gonna finally like come out with the full story that he's been like dancing around this whole time? Like, that's what I
Wow.
was thinking. You know,
Wow.
because he's been like really cagey about everything so far, and I was like, oh, did he suddenly like decide it was time to tell someone, and he's telling Sarah because reasons I don't know, and there's something in the suitcase that's connected to it. I don't know. I There's too much I don't know to really put it all together, but that's what I was thinking the story would be, but we'll see.
Cannot wait.
Or he'll never tell it and we'll just be frustrated next week. Anyway, all right, you ready?
Let's do it.
Okay, so Fatima makes the bed and Tilly knocks. She tries to shoo her away, but Tilly admits that she used to lick the inside of eggshells when she was pregnant.
Yeah.
And she thinks it'll pass. Fatima's worried that there's something wrong with the baby. She's also worried what the others and Ellis would think. Tilly thinks it's normal. Fatima says she shouldn't be able to conceive and she just wants to know if the baby will be okay. Tilly has a plan to find out.
Oh my god. So like this is nut. Ugh. Okay. All right. So there's some things in this scene that are doing what you have pointed out in other settings where it's like, yeah, maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's all it is.
Yep.
Maybe it is just a weird craving. There is a big difference between rotten vegetables and egg whites, which
Yeah,
have nutrients.
definitely.
But
Are there not
I feel like
nutrients in rotten vegetables?
I'm not a rotten vegetable ologist.
Really? That's
Yeah,
curious.
I mean, I do have a PhD in nutrition, but I barely passed my class on rotten vegetables. So
Okay,
yeah.
okay. That's a
Um,
hard one, right?
It's a hard one, yeah. Well, because I just couldn't keep the cravings at bay, every time we talked about rotten
Was that Professor
vegetables.
McSmellybeats?
That's right, yeah. Some people said he was a beet, but I thought that that was just racist. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Of
Yeah, it's
course, a first-time expectant mother is gonna be
you
nervous.
basically said like something like that,
Yeah,
before. I mean, not that specifically, but that like you have weird craving, the
yeah,
stuff Tilly's saying here, right?
yeah,
Where it's
yeah.
like, oh, it's just like, like it's just like normal shit, you want weird stuff, blah
Yeah,
blah
and there are
blah.
stories about women being told that they are not fertile
Yep.
and then they get pregnant. Like
Yeah.
and also there could very well be something else going on here.
Definitely.
And like if you want to read somebody tarot cards or do some other woo-woo thing, fine, but don't phrase it as, well, let's find out if there's
Yeah.
something wrong with your brain. But at the same time, Fatima, did you think she was going to take you to an ultrasound machine? Like, what were you
Yeah.
expecting?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think Fatima expected Tilly to be able to solve this problem. It feels to me like she was just happy to have someone to
yeah,
share this with because she
definitely. But why
feels
did she
like,
get so upset when the answer is tarot cards?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, it's like, yeah, it is. It's like, are you kidding me?
yeah, no, you're right that like what did she expect? I guess I meant before Tilly offered to solve the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think she expected it, but
yeah.
obviously once she did, then she did. So anyway, your point stands. That's my point. We will come back to that. Are you
I'm
okay?
ready.
So Tabitha and Henry go to the car to drive to the OG bottle tree. Can't wait till we get there. Joni Mitchell's Blue, by the way, uh Canadian. Just gonna
Yeah,
throw it in there
yeah.
on a show full of Canadians.
They could only get Canadian music.
Yeah, I know. It feels like there was some if you feature Canadian artists, then perhaps we will
So
Throw you a few bucks. I
there
don't
you
know.
go.
Just saying,
Those
maybe they're like
tax
France, you
credits.
know?
Yeah, so you
Oh, sorry, I didn't actually finish the scene, but go
oh,
ahead.
no, go ahead then.
Oh, okay. Joni Mitchell's Blue plays on the radio. Henry says it was Miranda's favorite, and Tabitha says it was She Jim's as well, and thinks it's like weird. Like, okay, I don't know. It's almost like a jukebox
It's
moment.
well, and there was a jukebox moment in season 1 with Blue.
Yeah, there was. Yeah.
And that was sort of the beginning of Tabitha and Jim like healing their broken marriage.
Right. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and he says like, "Oh yeah, the tape deck's broken and sometimes it just comes on."
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
That's weird. That's
is
also like that
weird.
feels like a jukebox reference. It's
Yes.
like, huh? Like, okay, it's an old car, so it's like maybe, but also like the coincidences are piling up here.
They're
Um,
piling up.
I'm suspicious, and yet I'm also not. Anyway, I don't know what I think about anything. All right, are you ready to continue? Okay. At the cabins, Dale complains that Jade isn't doing enough work, and the red shirts agree. Dale berates Jade, and Jade lashes out at Dale and walks away.
Yep,
Nice little scene there.
pretty much.
Business at the cabins. Okay. Are you
I'm
shall
ready.
I just yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're coming back. In fact, we're coming back immediately. Jade walks to a tree to pee. He finds two rocks with red blood on top. Sacrifice? Is that what's going on there? I
Yes,
don't
that's
know.
sort of what it
It
seems
was
like.
unclear, but that's what it looked like, maybe. Jade brushes snow off one of them, and then he has a vision of a guy pinned to a tree with a like a spike through the eye. The guy wakes up and grabs Jade. Jade tries to pull away, but the spell is broken when Dale comes over to see what's wrong. Jade says, "Fuck this."
Yeah. Which is, I think, a pretty valid response.
I agree. I
Um,
agree.
you know,
But it's
I
also like
wonder
you've
if
seen shit all over the place. Not like this is the only place you've ever had a vision. You were sitting in Colony House and you had a vision. Like you've had visions all over the place, you know. So it's like I'm not convinced that just because you're here, like like that there's I mean, you've never been here before, and all your visions were not here. So anyway, whatever.
I wonder if there's any
It's like
connection.
he draws his conclusion like it's the place, but like I'm not convinced that it's that place specifically. I mean, perhaps the vision has something to do with that place, but like the fact that he's having disturbing visions, I'm not convinced is primarily due to that place per se. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, I wonder if there's any connection between the fact that he was on drugs when he arrived and the thing about dropping acid at the bottle tree. But that's just just gonna set that aside as something random that just popped into my
Mm-hmm.
head. Um, this scene was giving me Roanoke vibes.
Yeah, so remind me what the Roanoke
Oh
thing is.
no, I was afraid you were gonna ask that.
I almost
What
looked it
isn't
up, but then
it?
I forgot because I figured, oh, you'll tell me.
Yeah, well, that
Should I
was
look it
you were
up?
wrong to think that. Well,
Should I wiki it
what I
here?
believe to be the case is that it was an early settlement of colonists in what we now call these United States, that just
Oh,
vanished.
they disappeared. Right, it's like
And
Storm of the Century or whatever. Like
yeah,
that's what I'm
yeah, Storm
talking
of the
about.
Century talks about it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like there's, one might assume like a very bad winter, maybe they eat each other.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also like this, those rocks, those like boulders that are there that are kind of unnaturally red. And the person on the tree, like, was this a site for sacrifice?
Yeah,
But then we see that guy again
we
later.
do.
So we should maybe come back to that after we talk about that scene.
Sure, sure. I'll just mention if any of you have seen Fear Street 1666, this also reminds me of it. Feels like this set and this whole environment like could have been incorporated into that very naturally because that is definitely the vibe, which is very in keeping with the Roanoke thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, they could have called it Roanoke. I think they even maybe did an American Horror Story Roanoke. Anyway, whatever. Um, unrelated and yet related. Okay. So we'll come back. All right. So Kenny clips some blueberries into a bag. Christy comes over and tries to talk to Kenny, but he just wants to know where her bag is. Where's your bag? All right, anyway. Then Jade and Dale show up. Jade wants to leave because fuck this, right? He doesn't want to sleep there. Christy tries to talk him down. Then Kitty tries to talk him down. Jade runs off. Christy follows because he's going the wrong way. Well done, Jade. I'm just gonna run this way. I don't
Classic.
know. I
If I
don't know where shit is, but I'll just go this way. I don't know. Anyway, thanks, Jade.
Oh, Jade.
Suddenly, a bear trap closes on Christie's ankle. Dale and Kenny join to try to help, but I guess like it's like an unlocking thing that breaks off. I couldn't really
Yeah,
tell.
it's like a release and
A
it snaps
release. There
off.
you go. I called it an unlocking thing, but I thought there was a better a release. The release breaks off, right? Because I guess it's just too old. Like the bear trap's too old.
Presumably.
At least that's what they conclude later. So yeah, this will be a thing later. Do I want to say my stuff later? I do want to say my stuff later. So I will say my stuff later
All right.
about that topic. But yeah, thanks, Jade. It's not really his fault, and yet
And
it's
yet,
partially his fault. Anyway, he didn't know there was a bear trap there for sure, but he also was going the wrong way. All right. Anyway, um, shall we?
yeah, bear traps are
Or
terrifying. That's all. Go
oh, they're
ahead.
awful. They're awful. Okay. Yeah, there's this thing in Saw, like the reverse bear trap. It's really
I don't
awful.
want to know about it.
Anyway, um, those of you who are Saw fans will know what I mean. It's funny, it's a tease. I don't think you see it actually work until like part 7 or something. Anyway, this isn't a Saw podcast, is it? Okay. So at the diner, Bakta, the bus driver, thanks Amazon. I also didn't know. I was calling her the bus driver for a long time. Like she has a whole ass scene here. I need to actually find out what her name is. And
Love it.
it's
Bacta.
Bakta
Love it.
apparently. Helps Ethan to clean up the diner. Boyd enters and finds out what they're doing. Bakta tells the story of finding Ethan cleaning up the place for Tian Shin. Boyd asks about her, and she mentions the thing with the nursery rhyme. She doesn't know how she's doing. Uh, Bacta asks if it gets worse, and Boyd says he doesn't know, but they will win and get home. But Ethan, ever the wet blanket, says, "What if there isn't a way home?" Tian Chen and his mom thought there was a way home, and look what happened to them. Boyd says, "We are not giving up on your mom," and Ethan says, "Maybe you should."
Yeah.
Real Debbie Downer in this episode.
Yeah, the past couple of episodes he's been it's like he like a switch flipped for
Yeah,
him.
he turned a corner. He got off that childish like, ooh, it's a fun adventure with the Cromanacle and ooh, my friend, the boy in white and Victor, and it's all adventures. And like, yeah, now it's like, oh man, this place is awful, and people
Yeah.
I care about are dead. And
Yeah.
anyway, um, so yeah, interesting little scene here. I do wonder about the nursery rhyme thing. I will come back to that general topic later. Um, any other comments? Okay. So back at the cabin array. Why did I write that? Back at the cabin array. What a weird way to phrase this. What did I mean to write there? Back at the cabin
This isn't interesting. Keep going.
Back at the cabin environs. I don't know what I was trying to say. Okay, sorry. They're unable to pry the trap loose. Dale wants to break the chain.
Area.
Area. Oh yeah, that's probably what I meant to
Wants to
say.
break the chain, so he goes to get a big stick. Stick doesn't work, it breaks.
They try prying it with some wood, but it snaps. Jade has an idea and enlists Dale's help.
Ugh, I bet
Um,
it's a really good idea that doesn't make me really nervous at all.
all right, so we'll come back to that.
Hmm.
Back at Colony House, Tilly observes Elgin sleeping. This is our first Elgin since the
I'm
first
shaking my head
episode.
because God, Elgin and Tilly, the fucking creep.
It's it's weird. It's weird. Like yeah. We're gonna pick up with that at some point, but not really here. Anyway, Tilly observes Elgin sleeping and grabs tarot cards. Fatima is super skeptical and calls out Tilly for being cookie batty Tilly.
Cookie
Um,
Batty Tilly.
Tilly seems to be offended, but points out that there's a lot of unbelievable stuff in the From Town as well. So, like, hey, like, are tarot cards really crazier than the stuff here? And it's like, well, no, but that doesn't mean that they mean anything. Anyway, whatever. She convinces Fatima to do a reading. Tilly tells the story of how she got the cards. If it matters, we'll come back to it. I'm not going to say it because I don't think it matters, but we'll see. And says that the cards told her about her cancer and about From Town in a certain way, vaguely.
If she'd have known how
That's what
to
she thinks, at least.
if she'd have known how to interpret them.
That's what she claims she thinks, let's say. I don't know what to think about anything Tilly says, honestly. She's like,
Have you ever had a tarot reading?
no.
It's a lot of interpretation.
Yeah, clearly. I think that's the sine qua non, if you will. Tilly deals the cards and tells Fatima to ask a question. Fatima says, "Is my baby okay?" Tilly is about to turn the card over. This is like the bottle tree. Like we don't get our tarot reading either.
It wouldn't have
It's
helped because it's just up for so much. I mean, tarot. Well,
I agree, but I was just really curious what the card
yeah.
was, and we never find out.
Well, we got something better, which is
Well, we
the
do.
most ominous thing that's happened in a while.
Tilly's about to turn the card over when a bird flies into the window. Initially, it bounces off, but another one, or the same one, I'm not really sure, breaks through the window and flies around eventually to its death in the house. So that's weird. And that shit happened, right? That's not a
Yeah,
vision.
no, the window's broken. People saw
That's like
it.
for
Yeah.
real. So this is wild. And I have no idea why this happened. Was it because of the tarot reading? Was it just a coincidence? Was it because of Fatima? Was it because of Elgin? Was it because of it's just like was it because of Telly? I don't know. There's like so it's totally unclear why this happens. The timing seems uncanny, but
Yeah, the timing can't be a coincidence.
it doesn't feel like it's a coincidence. And yet
But
it really might
it's like
be.
did Elgin's dream bring it in? Is he gonna tell us something when he wakes up
Yeah, yeah,
from
yeah,
his
yeah.
dream?
Yeah.
Um, did Tilly make it happen deliberately?
Mm.
Um, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a good point.
intriguing scene.
It's
Not
such a weird scene.
entirely dissimilar from a scene one might expect to see on Yellow
TV's
Jackets.
Yellow Jackets, Showtime's award-winning, critically acclaimed.
I think there's a podcast about that show.
Yeah, you should check out that podcast if you ever get a
Jackie
chance.
Jackie.
But before you check it out, you should watch the show because I
Definitely watch
heard
the show.
someone on the Patreon said
Oh no.
that he was listening to podcasts just to hear our voices because it had been so long and he never even watched From. And I was like,
Oh
oh no,
no.
don't do it.
Oh no.
Don't
I am
do
so
it. I
sorry.
know, I
Oh
know,
no.
I
Tell
know.
us something that you don't ever want to watch and
Yeah.
we'll do a podcast about that.
Yeah, yeah. I recommended watching the show, and I do recommend watching the show. You know, it's funny. Claude and I did like a whole bunch of podcasts where at the end I'm like, yeah, you know, if you want to watch this, it's pretty good. It's worthwhile after we've spoiled the entire thing.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you actually listen to this point, I've already ruined it for you, but now I'm recommending it to you.
Well,
You
the
know what?
Breeze show is gonna hold up, but yeah, it's better if you watch the show first.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, just in case there's anyone who's just listening to hear us talk, check out the show. Honestly, it's worthwhile. I think most of you have seen Lost or something similar. I'm certain all of you have seen Lost actually who are listening to this. At least from that.
Wait, so had that Patreon or patron had they watched Yellow Jackets?
I don't know. I think so, if I remember right. I
Okay.
think this is someone who's seen Yellow Jackets.
Okay.
This might even be the person who recommended Yellow Jackets originally.
Oh.
I'm
Wow, thank you, person.
I think
You've
it's
changed our
I'm not 100%
lives.
sure about that, but I think it's possibly true. Anyway,
Yeah. Okay.
I'd have to look it up, but
Okay, yeah.
anyway, check it out. It's a fun show. It's an interesting show, and
Fun?
we're podcasting about it. Well, fun isn't necessarily the right word, but
Yeah.
I think it's engaging, shall we say?
Uh-huh.
Okay, ready for
Engrossing. Yes, I'm ready. Let's go.
okay. Dale thinks Jade's idea of taking things from the sculpture is a bad idea.
For the
Um,
first time, I find myself in agreement with
maybe
Dale.
Dale's right this time. I don't know.
Though it's not clear to me that there's a backup plan.
No, there isn't, and it does work. So in Jade's defense, that's the materials they had. They knock over one of them, but get some rods for the trap. Kenny stays with Christy and she says that she knows what Tian Shin said. It makes Kenny acknowledge that he won't be alone. Jade and Dale arrive and pry Christy loose. Christy directs them to reset her dislocated.
Ankle.
It's ankle. Okay, I wasn't 100% sure what exactly was dislocated from the way they shot it. I thought it was maybe the knee, but ankle makes more sense because of what the trap did. But I thought maybe she fell
Oh
weird.
boy.
Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter, but I just want you to know everything that's going
Thank
on in
you.
my brain.
Thank you. What a
Dislocated
gift.
ankle.
It's
When
horrible.
when uh at that point, right? So Chrissy directs them to relocate her dislocated to reset.
Oh my
I'm
god.
sorry, to reset her dislocated ankle. When Jade has a vision of the tree guy again. This time with just a wound in his eye. The spike or whatever that was is not there, but there's a wound there,
Yeah.
and he's holding a skull. And then he drinks from the skull, and I guess blood flows down his face, and Christy gets Jade to focus, breaking the spell. There's a lot of
He sort
spell
of like
breaking.
offers it to Jade, right?
Was that the idea?
I
Yeah.
interpreted it, yeah, he drinks the blood and of course it trickles down on
Yeah.
his face because we have to know what it is. And
He
then
like pushes it forward. Yeah, sure. I
yeah.
didn't mention that, but that's a valid point.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Christy gets Jade to focus. They relocate Christy's leg thing, which apparently was the ankle. Then they carry her back to the camp, presumably. They at least carry her somewhere, and I hope it's back to the camp because
Carry her back
otherwise they're
to the
all dead.
cabin array.
Um,
Yeah,
when I
this
say
is
camp, I mean cabins. Yeah, thank you. Oh my god,
yeah,
I can't
this
keep it
is
straight.
bad. This is bad. So was was that talisman that they knocked over somehow keeping that spirit pinned to a tree?
Oh, that's interesting because he was pinned to the tree. I didn't even think about that. He was pinned to the tree before, and now
With a
he's
metal
unpinned with
rod.
a metal rod. Yeah, that's weird, isn't it? And the monsters did that shit, you know, in season
The
two.
monsters pinned that woman to the tree.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
a spike thing through the tree. Like it's not exactly the same, but it's similar. I think in a way that seems notable
It
to
is
me.
similar. I wonder if it's only stylistically similar, if there's some significance.
Just because it's a weird shit from the place thing, and it the more time goes on, the more I suspect that all the weird shit in From is related.
Uh-huh.
It makes me think it's related, but maybe not. I don't know. But it yeah, at least seems like a similarity that may perhaps be worth noting.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, this like what is I mean Jade's has so many visions. It's like, damn, Jade don't need more weird
Yeah,
visions to
and I think that
decode.
this vision, my interpretation of the clothing of this person, and again, I'm not a clothingologist. This is high quality synthetic material. Or sorry. Um,
Was it taffeta?
Taffo, no. Wow. All of the things are blending together into
The
one
whole world
giant.
is one big like conglomeration of fodder for the podcast in my
Yeah,
head.
noted. Um, fuck, what was I gonna say? Oh, that it looks like this outfit is from a different era from any that we've seen before.
Yes.
I what do I know? We've seen
It
these
didn't look
Civil
like the
War
Civil War
soldier.
soldiers.
Well, it was not a soldier.
Clearly not a soldier, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe civilians. I don't know. We need to take a close look at those buttons. It's all about the
Oh,
buttons.
okay. Button study.
No, I
Okay.
do think Well, I really don't know anything about fashion, but
Zoom
I
in and enhance on those buttons.
exactly get the CSI treatment. I do believe that buttons are an important historical marker for generally dating things.
Oh, okay. So if Jade can just get a hold of one of those buttons, maybe we can crack this case.
Yeah.
Maybe next time he can just, you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
someone needs to tell him that he needs to get a button though.
Maybe if I whisper it into a bottle in the bottle tree, he will hear.
But it's just like he's gotten visions since season one, and
Yes.
there was no symbol this time, right? The
Yeah.
symbol seems disconnected. There was the stuff with the kids
Yeah,
in
the
the
symbol
cave.
has not shown back up.
There was the Civil War soldiers. There was the guy in the bunker thing.
Hmm.
There was the ventriloquist dummy.
Oh yeah.
He's had like so many visions, and he's been, but it's like, does it help here? I don't know. It does seem like this vision is specifically connected to this place, so to that extent, maybe it's helpful. But in terms of Jade's overall mission, what does this all mean? I don't think this helps much.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready? All right, back in town. Randall's back in town, back on the bus. Randall is killing time. I don't even know what he's doing. He's like stabbing something, whittling. I don't know what he's doing. Anyway,
Yeah.
um,
Let's try to figure that out.
yeah, I
Like
couldn't. Knifing a rock.
knife drilling a hole in a rock.
That doesn't make any sense, but I don't know. He doesn't know what to do. Anyway, he sees a locust. Then he sees locusts attack him in the bus. Oh shit! But
Right. So the
then
first locust he sees is outside the bus.
yep, outside the bus. Boyd comes in and breaks the spell. Boyd wants to switch accommodations with Randall so that he can watch the monsters.
Yeah, and here's another case where Boyd's like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Nothing."
Yeah, of course, of
Like,
course. No one
talk
ever
to one
shares
another.
anything.
But yeah, Randall was one of those who was like under that spell.
Right, 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 right. That they come for three unless you
Yeah,
stop the melody. Yeah, exactly. The nursery rhyme, as
the
referenced by
nursery
Bach to the
rhyme.
bus driver.
Fucked up.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. So this is a good intermediate step, spend a night
I
observing
agree. I agree.
from the presumed safety of the
Yeah,
bus.
yeah, yeah. I'm curious to see like what is he gonna try to observe, or where is this gonna take us? I'm not really clear on that. And I also wonder about this locust vision. In the first couple episodes, it seemed like they were vaguely alluding to the idea that Julie was having some weird after effects of being, also being in the under the spell of the whatever the fuck it was. I still
Yeah.
don't know. And like Marielle made some vague references along those lines as well. Though in those cases they never showed them having like specific nightmare visions. So I don't know if they actually are or if it's more just, sort of PTSD type stuff going on. I don't really know, but it seems notable. It doesn't seem like the locusts are back, but it's interesting that Randall's actually, it's like he's on that Jade train now, and he's just like getting visions of shit, and like I don't know, it's weird. I don't know where that's going, but
Yeah.
it seems notable. Just because like I thought we were done with the locusts, and maybe we are, but why are we seeing this vision? Like I feel like there's got to be a
Yeah.
reason for this.
Did the weather have to change to kill the locusts?
That's interesting, but it seemed like the locusts went away when they stopped the melody, which,
Oh,
was like
yeah.
sort of. I mean, the weather change sort of started to happen at the same time, but it seemed more like that was the thing that did it. But I don't know. I mean, maybe. I can't prove this not true
Yeah.
for what it's worth. I mean, it's an explanation that makes some kind of sense. All right. So are you
Yeah.
okay? Well, this is our final bit here. So
Here we
here
go. It's
here
all been
we
leading to this.
buckle up, kids. This is gonna be a long one. Tabitha and Henry drive to the bottle tree, or do they? Tabitha is car sick. I thought that was weird. Why are you car sick from like a short car ride? Like I don't understand. But anyway, whatever. Tabitha's car sick. Maybe it's a mere contrivance. Or
I mean,
maybe it's just lack of sleep. I don't know.
she busted out of a hospital before
She
she was
did
done
bust
with
out of the
treatment,
hospital.
and then she stayed up all night looking at these scary
Yeah,
fucking paintings. I feel like she's just saying that because there's something wrong with her, and
yeah,
he told her they shouldn't go.
yeah.
She's like, "No, I'm just a little car sick."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, just an excuse. Sure.
Yeah.
Henry tells her there's some crackers in the glove compartment. I really wanted them to be 20-year-old Dharma crackers, but they were not, sadly. They're
Saltines are all 20 years old.
they're best that way, you know? I don't know,
They
it's
are only
weird.
that. How would you know? They're only that way.
Well, okay, good point. They seem best that way, but I can't speak to any other state. So,
Indeed.
um, there is also a bracelet in the glove compartment, seemingly identical to the one from town that she lost at the hospital when, and I looked this up, Julie was born. That's actually when it happened.
Oh.
Yeah, I looked it up because I couldn't remember, but it was actually when Julie was born, which means it was a long ass time ago. So I don't know if that helps or hurts, but it does seem notable. Um, she asked Henry about it, and he says that Miranda made it. Tabitha clearly thinks that all this isn't real. This is where she cracks. She's like,
Yeah.
okay, no, 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 no. This far, no farther. This is some bullshit. I'm in some wild hallucination. I'm still trapped. What are you doing? What are you in on it? You slipped up, Henry, and I caught you. That was the slip,
Yeah.
Madeline. All right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Who's Madeline?
from Vertigo.
Oh. Yeah, it's right. So why would he direct her to the glove compartment for crackers
Yeah,
if this bracelet was really a liability, or was that
yeah.
part of it? Was that the plan? Is this
This is where I'm gonna start getting into my well, there's, but also
yeah.
because there's a ton of that in this scene. I'm gonna go ahead and finish. Let me just talk through all this,
Yeah.
and then I'll pick it apart because I have a lot to say, or do I? We'll see. I have some stuff to say. Okay. She asks Henry, right? He says, Miranda, all right, Tabitha thinks this isn't real. She recounts the many absurdities that she's been through and the story of the bracelet. Henry seems confused. She wants Henry to pull over immediately. She wonders what happens if she doesn't, quote, play along. Henry tries to get her to go see the tree. We're almost there. Come on, let's go to the tree. He says she can't leave after telling this crazy story about Victor and all this. Like, you can't leave now. She tries to get out, but Henry pulls the door shut and drives away, instantly getting in a car crash. Okay. And then Tabitha wakes up in an ambulance. The paramedics try to reassure her. One of them knows about the lunchbox and that she disappeared from the hospital. So they know who she is, basically. Tabitha wants to get out, but they're stopped by a mysterious tree in the middle of the road. And Tabitha says, no, 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 as the paramedics get out and look at the iconic tree from.
Oh boy.
All right. So let me just walk through some of these points. So like um uh okay, so on the bracelet. So Henry says that Miranda made the bracelet. To me, this offers much like with the bottle tree, right? Because my interpretation of Miranda making the bottle tree is that Miranda made the bottle tree in the From world, which could be true. That's one of a few possibilities that I will mention. Because she loved it. She already
Miranda,
made a replica at her own home.
meaning the Miranda made the bottle tree to maybe to demarcate the faraway tree that takes you to the lighthouse.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking that, but that's a valid
Okay.
point. I
Like
was
that
thinking
this
that
is a special tree, so protect it or enhance it or whatever.
that's totally valid. I mean, I was just thinking it was as simple as this is a thing from home that meant a lot to me, and she felt like recreating it there.
Hmm.
That was my like first blush interpretation, where it
Sure.
seems it
Sure.
seems
Sure.
reasonable to take it that way, but you could definitely go farther than that and say she knew about the far. I mean, she did know about the
She
faraway
did.
trees, right? So it's totally valid to say that it also had something to do with the fact that there was a bottle, but faraway tree there. But like also, all right. Sorry, I gotta get to the. I gotta say more before I can get to that also point. Okay. So like uh on a similar point, Henry says that Miranda made the bracelet. And to me, that also offers a plausible alternative explanation for why the bracelet was in the diner.
Ah,
She could have made the bracelet again because, again, same reason. Like it was a meaningful thing from her home that that she would make to like have some kind of sense of connection or to like reminisce or whatever you want to say like remind her of home or something like to me that seems like a plausible theory like she knew how to, if she really made that bracelet. Now the thing that's hard to reconcile is that Tabitha also made a bracelet that's identical. I don't know how to make any sense of that. That's weird. I don't know, maybe they just
yeah.
googled the same template. I mean, Tabitha didn't say that, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Miranda was doing any Googling,
oh,
but
right, because it was back in
yeah,
the
it's
in the 90s, so long ago. Few remember what it was like back in the 1990s. Anyway, no,
oh
I
my
think it was actually the
God. It's
80s.
just so silly that you're like referencing this thing that you saw on social media that nobody knows what you're talking about. There was this thing on some Facebook where somebody was like, Victor is so old. Like he might have been around in the 90s.
They were
Anyway,
described him as very, very old,
very,
which I thought was like,
very
and a lot of podcasts agreed. Like, there, most podcasts I listened to were
yeah.
like,
I
this can't be Victor's father because he's not old enough.
the problem is that the lunchbox is too old. You know,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
a like that lunchbox is I don't know. It's like it's that thing that happens where you always think of 50 years ago as being 50 years ago from when you were like a
Yeah, yeah,
teenager.
yeah, yeah.
But
I'm still
you know,
having
when
that
you're
problem.
like almost 50.
Hey, steady on, all right? Some of us have a way to go. Speak for yourself.
Speak for yourself. Okay, so what are we talking about? Bottle
Okay.
trees.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, but
Bottle tree,
like
the bracelet.
we are definitely never gonna get the scene where she is like going through an old photo album that she happened to have with her when they landed on the island and sees a picture of Jim with the bracelet on from back before Julie was born and is like, "Oh, actually it's not exactly the way I remembered it. It doesn't have that kind of bead on it. Never
I
mind.
mean, I mean,
Never mind."
honestly, like, how old do you think Julie is? Like 17,
Yeah, she's
something like
something like
that,
that.
right?
17,
So,
18.
like, that's a long time ago to remember exactly what a bracelet looks like, you
I
know?
just remember things from that long ago,
Me
for
too.
sure.
Me too. So I feel like that's also plausible that like she's just a little off about, it's the same
Yeah,
type of
I don't
bracelet.
really think that,
I don't
but
either, and yet I think it's plausible.
I mean in reality, yeah. And that's what Jim says. He's like, "You mean that this bracelet is like that bracelet?"
Yeah,
And
yeah,
she's like, "No,
yeah,
this is that
yeah.
bracelet."
And I
But
took her word
if
for it then.
yeah, but if lost things somehow end up in this place, I mean, I don't know. We need
Yeah,
to see more items if that's
examples
the
of
case.
that. Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, the idea that the guy she has been interpreting as Victor's father is actually part of the infrastructure of, maybe that part of that same set of people who talked to Jim over the
Yeah,
radio
yeah,
or whatever. That's a chilling thought.
definitely.
Um the idea that maybe the car accident happened because she stopped playing along
Yep, yep. I
is
was gonna bring that up.
another, yeah, another possibility. And I continue to really wish that we could have seen what would have happened if they'd have continued along the path to the original bottle
Oh,
tree. Was there a scenario where they would have actually made it to the bottle tree, or were they always destined to get to that downed tree,
yeah,
if indeed they ever left at all?
indeed. Yeah,
Because she blacks out for a while.
yep, yep.
Anyway.
Yeah, and then yeah, so oh my God, there's so much. So I wanted to talk about Henry in this scene because he comes off like again, he's playing that line. His confusion seems like it could be for real because it sort of makes sense. And also his reaction, like, no, you can't leave now. You just came and told me my son's alive, and
Yeah.
you know what happened to my wife and all this shit. Like, you can't leave. Like I buy that.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem impossible to me that he would react that way, and yet it also reads as like possibly suspicious. Also, the fact that she specifically says, I didn't write that here, but she specifically says, "Oh, what happens if I don't play along? Do I end up back at the hospital?" And then they're instantly like in a car crash, and she's in an ambulance headed back to the hospital, and it's like that's weird. Like, is it just a coincidence? I don't know, maybe, but it seems weird. And like he was really insistent. No, we got to go see the tree, right? And it's like it's fine, but it's also like I don't know. I struggle with it. And then the other thing I was going to bring up um is that the story of Miranda and Victor and his sister Eloise uh showing up in the town, like the way he tells it, right? He just left for work. He came back and they were gone, right? And I thought that was weird, right? I said that in the last episode.
Yeah.
Like that's weird because no one, like, everyone else, like that we heard about, at least like the story, like they were on a trip somewhere
Yeah.
traveling, and they just seemingly randomly like showed up at the down tree, and were trapped, but it seemed like she was like intentionally going there, and this makes me think a lot of things like that potentially. So I have like several versions of this thought, and I'm going to try to present all of them.
Oh my.
So it makes me think that, like, what if the original entrance to Frumtown is actually there in
In Camden.
Camden, and that explains how she got there that quickly. And there's this line about
I like that.
going to the bottle tree. That's where they dropped acid, and that's where, quote, this all started originally. It definitely made me think that, like, oh, could it be that, like, somehow they opened a portal, or they just found the portal, or the place was created because of that, or I don't know what. And then it made me think, because it seemed weird that they were going to see a tree, and then the ambulance arrives at a downed tree, and it really made me want the downed tree to be the bottle tree, but of course it's not. If you look, there's clearly no
There's
bottles
no
there,
bottles. Yeah.
so I don't think it's that. But it did make me think, because he's like, it's just up the road a bit. It made me think that perhaps the original bottle tree is actually the one in Frumtown. you
Mm.
know that is actually the original one, and it was somehow subsumed by that place, or they were in that place and didn't know, and were somehow not trapped yet because something reasons. I don't know, there's a lot of versions of that I thought about, but yeah, it made me think that maybe she didn't recreate the bottle tree. Maybe actually that was
That
the
was the
original
bottle
bottle
tree.
tree, like, because they're going there, and then they arrive in Frumtown. It just seems like a weird coincidence, if it really is a coincidence. Mic drop.
Uh,
Just got to throw it out there.
huh. I like that. I wonder how badly injured he is. I wonder if he's going to get a chance to see the bottle tree in From Town. Um,
It also made me wonder about, yeah, I think that's a good point, and I think that probably will happen at some point, assuming he doesn't die, um, and he's not like some monster in on it. I mean, I think that whole thing makes me less inclined to think that, but I'll tell you the other thing this made me worried about. Because like Tabitha's questioning, like, did I ever make it out? And this episode made me question, like, is there an out?
well,
You know?
the kid asks that.
Yeah, exactly. But like in some sense, is the real world already somehow part of the from world, and they just don't know it? You know?
Yeah,
Like,
what would that even mean?
it's not clear what it means, but I guess with the combination of like all of these revelations about Victor's mom and Bottle Tree and the boy in white appearing, and then like the events of this episode, so like, and then but then like you have you have the Civil War soldiers, which she painted, and then you have this Roanoke guy, um, which seem like potential, and the monsters. Actually, I'll throw in the monsters because I still maintain that they used to be human. Um,
You and Christy both.
it seems to, yeah. Well, hey, medical professionals, I respect them. Do you? Anyway, uh, um, uh, uh, it seems like it means that the from world, the island existed before, Victor and Miranda, and, right?
Yeah,
But it also seems like maybe they created the place. So I'm
yeah,
like,
I don't know. I
I'm not
mean,
really sure what to think. Like, did they
it's
create the place with all this shit in it? Like, what do they even, And then there's this idea of the place incorporating a lot of people's stuff, right? There's the bus driver's nursery rhyme, right? There was the thing about the locusts, that
yeah,
was Nathan, right? I think.
Nathan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they've had these ideas. There's the fish and loaves, or the if I had a boat, or whatever. There seems to be this idea that's like taking things from people's minds and incorporating it from people's minds and incorporating them, hey,
Oh no.
into, yeah, it's easy to use from, it's pretty common anyway, and like, yeah, using that stuff in the world or something. So it's like maybe it's just that, I don't know, it's like I'm so, oh man, it's so tantalizing and so frustrating at the same
Yeah,
time.
yeah. I would agree. I mean, it is tantalizing. What frustrates me is the inevitable feeling that we will be let down. But I am really enjoying Wondering. We've got a few more episodes this season, so they have an opportunity to give us a little more information. Or not.
Or not.
Um,
I'll tell you another thing I'm kind of disappointed by. I'm disappointed that Tabitha's back, because it means like that her whole jaunt outside
yeah.
is done.
Yeah, I mean, I knew she was probably gonna get back,
I
but
wanted more. I wanted more. What
I
about
know,
what about
I know.
Eloise? Why didn't
Yeah,
they
fucking. What about
why
Eloise?
didn't they talk about Eloise? It's like it's weird. I do think it'll come up. I do think, like you said, the ambulance and the EMTs arriving is going to be a thing, especially because Christy is away and injured right now. That's kind of helpful, and then
Yeah,
just the supplies, and then the fact that Victor's father is actually going to be there now. So
yeah,
like that seems like that could lead to some pretty significant interactions or extreme disappointments. We'll see.
we'll see.
But I
Yeah,
am just really curious what he has to say when he wakes up there. And they show him stuff like the bottle tree and all that shit, and just the fact that he gets trapped there, I don't know. It's like if he's really in on it, then like why? Like that's what makes me think there is no out, that like the whole world is already somehow trapped and they just don't know it. I don't know, like it's some kind of universal flash sideways or something. That's sort of how it
yeah.
comes off. But of course, Tabitha did leave and come back, seemingly, whatever that
We need the
means.
boy in white to show back up.
I
Although
agree.
it's not like he ever provides any
He's
answers.
totally useless, but I also want him to come back, and I want Boyd to tie
Take
his
that
ass
down. No,
down
exactly.
and be
Exactly.
like,
Let's interrogate that
what did you
today.
mean this is the only way? What were you talking about? Why'd you direct me into a tree that trapped me to die and then like got me like enmeshed with this like bloodworm guy who like caused all sorts of problems that led to all sorts of problems that
It was
we're
the
still
only
dealing
way. It was
with?
the only way.
It's the only way. All right.
Yeah.
Who are you? What's your deal, boy? All right. Anyway, I totally agree. I want more. I think we will get more, but they're definitely. I feel like Boy in White is like a little bit like Man in Black and Lost. Where it's like they kind of, I mean, for a while, for most of the show, he was just a smoke monster, but You know,
Totally.
like it's a thing you don't see in every episode
Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
it shows up at these like momentous. It feels to me like they're
Yeah, I don't
doling
think
it out slowly.
yeah, I don't think we're ever gonna get anything from him.
It's like once he comes out into the open, he'll lose his mystique. I guess is my point.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You know,
So, and that's why mystery shows often have disappointing endings
indeed,
because the mystery's just better.
it is.
So,
It is.
yeah.
Totally agree.
So, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to say right now, or just
Another mousetrap.
another mousetrap?
Yeah, no, no, I think that's good. We got all the stuff. It was a good episode. I can't complain. It was a lot of intriguing developments, and
Yeah,
as much as I wanted Tabby and Camden to do more, I'm also curious what is happening now that they're back. So,
yeah.
it'll help with Ethan at least.
Yeah, yeah. Assuming, of course, that they arrived back there at the in the same timeline.
Oh God.
I don't really think that that is a risk, but
That feels like a Claude thing to say. He always wants there to be different timelines. I feel like there's been every sign in the show so far that the timelines are running
yeah,
concurrently.
yeah.
So I expect that they will show up at the same timeline, but we'll see next week.
It'd be fucking nuts if they didn't. Anyway, yeah. Uh, watch this space. Wait, is that
Yeah,
no? Just
watch
watch
the
this.
space
Watch this show.
or watch the show
Yeah,
space.
yeah. Show space. Yeah. I look forward to picking back up.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with whatever the fuck it's called. And
Yeah.
until then, buzz,
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 buzz, buzz.
buzz.